Hello, I'm Jennifer Hoff with Taffy Event Strategies, and on behalf of Coverings 2021, the show organizing team would like to welcome you to our exhibitor session. In today's session, we will give updates on Coverings 2021, which will take place in Orlando, Florida on July 7 through 9. During the session, attendees will be in listen mode only. To ask questions of the presenters, you can use the question box. You will also be unmuted and able to ask questions after presentations by raising your hand. If you are having problems connecting or any other issues, usually closing your window and starting a new window will fix the problem. Ali, advance the slide by 2. Okay. Today's session will include updates regarding Coverings 2021 and include feedback from NTCA, CTVA, and TCNA. To kick off the session, I would like to turn this over for a few words from Armando Cafiero and Ana Martinez. Armando?
Thank you, Jen. So I'm Armando Cafiero. I work with Confindustria Ceramica, the Italian association. And first of all, I would like to welcome very much to this session all the colleagues from Spain and Italy, our exhibitors and members that are attending today. I would like to note that in over 30 years that we organize coverings together with our American partners, is the first time that we organize a meeting that is not solely for organizational and technical aspects. This is, of course, due to the fact that we are living all throughout the world time of great uncertainties, and this is, of course, reflecting to the organization of our coverings, which is the most important show for our sector in North America. So what we are going to try with this session is to give you the best fair view and effective of the situation. It's a very challenging task that we are taking, but is even more challenging the task that you have as companies to make decisions in this time. We are very aware of that. I'm here sitting with Emilio Mussini, who is Vice Chair of Confindustria Ceramica and Chair of our committee for trade shows and promotional activities. We as association are fully committed to give you the best view of the present situation, but at the end of the day, the decisions are up to companies level, and we are very much aware of that. So I would like to thank our North American partners that with us are in the Coverings joint venture that will make their presentations to give us the best situation in a changing environment with the challenges that we have to face both in the market as always, but particularly for the pandemic situation that we are living now. Out of this presentation of the session of today, and we are particularly here to answer to your questions, it will come a decision time, and at the end of this day, we'll come with a timetable for time frame for this. But again, we are here to give you, at our knowledge, the best view of the situation to inform your decisions. Thanks again for attending this meeting today, and I'm pleased to pass over the word to my colleague Alberto Echevarria. Hi Alberto, piacere di vederti.
Hi, I'm not sure if everybody is hearing me because I have some problems with the mic. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Armando, for your introduction, and thank you, Jennifer. I would like to thank Jen and the whole TAFE events team to hold the line and to keep working in this very complicated situation. Well, very few words to add after the wise intervention of my colleague Armando. We are all making a great effort to make this show possible. You all are aware, very aware of the situation and the complicated moments that we have been living last year with the last cancellation of coverings. That's the reason why we are pushing and doing our best to make this show possible. That's why we postponed to July to try to make possible this show and to allow all the suppliers and all the producers to show their products in the American market. But even though our American colleagues are doing a great effort in terms of vaccination, in terms of opening their spaces to show and their venues to show the products, we have to be very honest, and we have to assume that the situation here in Europe is not the best. But that's the reason why we are making a great effort, and we are pushing for making this show possible with the best and the most strict measures in terms of safety and in terms of productivity, in order to make you successful and productive show. After this webinar, you will have time enough to ask all the TAFE team and also both colleagues from Italy and Spain. In case you have any question, you just have to ask with the proper way. No more word from me. Thank you all for attending this webinar, and thank you, Jan, for running this. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Alberto. We'll see you again at the end.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Ali? Great. That's correct. Okay. Well, let's kick this off. I'm going to give some show updates and some informational overviews, and then I'll be turning it over to the associations to give updates related to feedback from their members. So for Coverings 2021, registration and hotel reservation links are open on the website of coverings.com. At this time, attendance is trending higher compared to the 2019 show, which was held in Orlando. That was the last time the show was held in Orlando. There's a good mix of distributors, retailers, A&D, contractors, and installers that have signed up so far. Also, we're partnering with the National Wood Flooring Association, which will be co-locating with Coverings. Attendees will be able to visit both exhibit floors at no charge, and their exhibits will be open on Thursday and Friday at the same time as the covering show. We will provide additional updates on attendance as we get closer to the show. And to continue, the hotel reservations that are booked are also in line with historical trending. And we encourage you to book in the hotel block for Coverings. There are no deposits that will be required until mid-June, and any deposits once made, you have up to 72 hours before arrival to cancel. So the Coverings block will provide the most flexibility for you. Okay. For the exhibit hall, we have begun the space selection process, and we've assigned over 100,000 net square feet of space to 163 companies. And the main hall portion of the exhibit hall is sold out, and Italy and Spain pavilions are working with you and your companies to get you placed on the exhibit floor. Tim Fearney is the main point of contact for exhibit and strip sales for Taffy events, and his information is on the covering website. And he also, you can also reach out to your association contacts for questions about getting a booth space and getting an assignment. The exhibit space contract will have a exhibitor cancellation protection clause in it that enables fees to be carried forward to the Coverings 2022 show or 2023 show in the unlikely case that the Coverings 21 show is canceled or curtailed. Okay, again, it's just some basic information about the show. Will take place July 7 through 9, and it will be a 3-day show this time. It will be in the Orlando Convention Center Exhibit Hall, North A and B. This exhibit, this is the same building that Coverings 2019 was in, but it's only the north half of the building. The exhibitor service manual is now available on the Coverings website, and stand building can begin on July 2nd at 8 a.m. And after the show, exhibitors will be need to be moved out by July 11th at 11 a.m. We've been following progress in the United States on recovery, and the United States has rolled out an extensive vaccine program. The president has set a goal that everybody will be vaccinated by the end of 2021 that wants a vaccination. This is significant, especially with the release of the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is amplifying the speed in which people are getting vaccinated in the US. Schools and restaurants are opening at higher capacities, and more than 50 events have taken place at the Orlando Convention Center since July 2020. The Center for Exhibition Industry Research model states that the peak average number of COVID cases occurred in late January, and that with government's initiatives that herd immunity is accelerating. This is a ongoing research that they are doing, and in each survey, it shows more and more positive improvement to the situation in the United States. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Show management will work with the Orlando Convention Center and our official vendors to implement show safety measures that will evolve based on guidance from the various government agencies and the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization. Some of the highlights are that the Orlando Convention Center has obtained the GBAC Star accreditation, establishing a cleaning, disinfectant, and infectious disease program. If you need more information on that, you could go to the website of the Convention Center, which is occc.net. There will be first aid stations and personnel on site at the Convention Center, and we'll have ample hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the Convention Center. Social distancing will be encouraged through signage, floor decals, and show management enforcement, and we will have ongoing discussions between now and the show with exhibitors, attendees, and continue to review the CDC and governmental recommendations related to show safety measures. We'll communicate our specific social distancing and mask policies closer to the show and full safety measure overview. Okay. There are additional booth planning suggestions that you may choose to consider when you're designing your booth. For traffic flow, establish points of entry and exit, and consider using floor graphics to help direct traffic flow through your booth. Social distancing, keep areas open when possible to accommodate social distancing in your booth, and keep it clean. When exhibiting, you can regularly wipe areas down and have hand sanitizer readily available for your visitors as well. I'm now going to turn the program over to Bart Bettiga from the National Tile Contractors Association. We look forward to your update. Thank you, Bart.
Thanks, Jen. As you said, I'm Bart Bettiga, the Executive Director of the National Tile Contractors Association. And we're here to kind of talk to you a little bit about getting people to the show. So Allie, if you could change the slide. The NTCA has been a partner with our show partners since the beginning of the show. We represent what you saw earlier on attendance, looking at the sectors, key sectors of distributors, retailers, contractors, and installers. We represent the retailers and more importantly, the contractors or installers and the fixers. We are about 1,800 members, but 1,200 members of that group are the contractors and the retailers. And we were asked to put on a survey, which we did, very short survey, to look at what our members would say about possibly attending the show. About 25% of our members responded, which is actually, with the amount of surveys we put out, very, very good, a very good response rate. And these are, I'm going to quickly go through the results, but we closed the survey last week. We're still getting responses in. We're probably up around 30% response rate, but and the numbers are changing even more positively. But basically, 174 people out of 290, which is about 56%, said they absolutely plan to attend the show this year. Next slide, Allie. Of the ones that said they would come, we were interested if they would bring more, less, or the same. And with our members, it was basically the same. Most of our members bring between 1 and 5 employees to the show, and that will continue. We do not see any decrease based upon the response that we got. This is an important slide because one of the things we were concerned with here at the NTCA was that in addition to the concerns about COVID, that moving the show to July 7th through the 9th might affect us because of the 4th of July holiday in the US and because of the fact that it's later in the summer for our members and it's hot in Orlando. But the response that we got from the people that said they were not planning on coming was that it was mainly COVID related, 52.6%. That's really important to us because as we get closer to more vaccines and we can start to really prove to our members that they can travel safely to Orlando and feel good about that, we think we can positively impact the attendance. And it's not because of the 4th of July or the summer months that's really making them make that decision. And then this is also important to us. When we got response related to virtual trade shows or virtual events versus an in-person show, overwhelmingly our members feel that the being at a show is so very, very important to them. In fact, a lot of our members tell us that from a virtual standpoint, they find seminar or webinars or education to be somewhat effective, but not so much a virtual type trade show from our members' standpoint. I just wanted to share with you all a little bit of the feedback we got from the people that took the survey. This particular woman is a president of a company with 17 locations. They're a top 10 retailer in the United States, and they view coverings to be very significant. They import, they have a $125 million company, and they really feel strongly, and they plan on being at the show. As does the next company, which is a California-based company. They've had their own issues out there, but he plans on bringing the same amount of people, all of his key management staff. They take this tile show very, very seriously. Finally, I wanted to also let you know that NTCA has been working behind the scenes, especially since we learned that the Wood Flooring Association would be co-locating. And by doing that, it allows NTCA to work with some of the buying groups that we work with that sell both tile, wood, and other products. And we're working with these groups. StarNet Worldwide and Fuse Alliance are two of the larger buying groups in the United States, and we're talking to them about holding their own meetings, because one thing that's happened to the buying groups is that they haven't been able to collectively get together since COVID. So we're looking at working with them along with the Wood Flooring Association to bring all of their members to coverings in Orlando so they can hold their own meetings and attend both shows. Finally, I also wanted to say how important our Spanish and Italian exhibitors are to the retailers and contractors and fixers. Even though a lot of our members don't always import directly, one of the reasons why they come to the show every single year is to look at the technology and the trends that Italy and Spain are contributing to our industry. This particular picture is a pedestal system that's underneath porcelain tile. And this is technology that our members are embracing all over the country and helping to increase tile sales in exterior areas like roofs and balconies and decks that maybe traditionally we haven't been successful installing tile. And pedestal systems are an example of that, as are the gauge porcelain tile large format panels. And also now our members are really responding to 3 and 4 centimeter material for driveways and exterior decks, et cetera. So very important what you bring to the table, and we need you at the show. We hope that you can be at the show. It's very, very important to us. Finally, I wanted to say that I realize the challenges that maybe you all might have with getting all of your installers and stand fitters to the show. So I wanted to put out that we are prepared at NTCA to work with some of our larger contractor members. We've already been in discussions with some that have superintendents and installers all in South Florida. And if you need help with installing or even assistance with crews, maybe with some of your lead crews, to help install tile in your booths, should you make the decision that you can come, but you can't get all of the people that you normally would have, we stand ready to help you to provide some labor for you to install tile in your booths. And we are happy to be a part of that. And you can reach me through this information, or you can contact your own associations, and they have my information. And with that, I thank you very, very much. And I would like to turn it over to the Ceramic Tile Distributors Association Executive Director, Rick Church. Rick, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bart. Excellent presentation, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rick Church. I'm the Executive Director of the Ceramic Tile Distributors Association, and we'd like to share some information about CTDA and our members' interest in attending Coverings 2021 in July in Orlando. CTDA is the voice of the independent tile distributor in North America. We have 350 distributor member companies. Our average distributor has about $20 million in annual tile sales. They buy directly from manufacturers, as you know, and inventory product. So our members are wholesale distributors and some large retailers who are buying direct and inventorying product. They all sell a significant portion of their sales at wholesale, but can do retail as well. And importantly, they do not install. So we're good partners with NTCA's members. We also conducted a survey of our members and asked 5 specific questions. We had a 22% response rate, which is a very good response rate and is certainly statistically valid, so we can rely on the results of this survey. And we also, like NTCA, still have responses coming in. The 5 questions that we asked were, as of today, do you or representatives from your company plan to attend Coverings in July in Orlando? If yes, how many people from your company would attend? If yes, are there any factors that would change your mind about attendance, and what are they? And if no, would representatives from your company visit the exhibitors virtually if that option were made available? And if no, are there any factors that would change your mind about attending? So the answer to the first question, coincidentally, very similar to NTCA's results. 56% of the people responding said that they were planning to come to Coverings in July in 2021. Question 2, of those people, of those companies, how many people from your company would attend? And we asked, would it be the same as usual, more than usual, or less than usual? Over 50% said the same, just over 40% said fewer, and about 8% said that they planned to bring more. We continue to ask those folks that were planning to attend, are there any factors that would change your mind? And the 3 top responses were, of course, COVID-related responses, the status of the vaccine, and if there is an increase in the spread of COVID. Safety protocols recommended by the show. It's important to the attendees that appropriate safety protocols be set in place. And if the show were to be canceled. Question 4 then is, if you're not planning to attend, would representatives from your company visit exhibitors virtually if that option were made available? Almost half are unsure. Over 40% said yes, they would, and just over 10% said no. So clearly our folks are interested in connecting with exhibitors, either in person or virtually. And then we also asked, if you're not planning to attend, are there any factors that might change your mind? The 3 main responses were, number 1, no. They've made up their mind and they're just not planning to attend. The second was uncertainty about the virtual show value. So some folks felt virtual presentations don't convey the product well enough, and virtual platforms are difficult to manage. So attending in person would be more important to them. And the last is the date. Like some of the concerns with NTCA members, having a summer date can be challenging for some folks. I want to add here before we go to the next slide that while this survey was done and finished the first week of March, last week, we hold every other week virtual member meetups with members of CTDA. And 4 weeks ago, I asked that group of about 20 to 30 important CTDA distributor members if they were planning to attend coverings in July. And only about 40% of that group said yes, they were planning to attend. We then did this survey, and that number increased, as you can see, to 56%. Yesterday, we held another one of our bi-weekly member meetups. And I asked that group of about 25 CTDA distributor member companies if they were planning to attend coverings in July or were sending people to coverings in July. 100% of them on the call yesterday said they were planning to attend coverings in July or send people to the show. They said that coverings is very important to them. They said that connecting with each other and with their suppliers face-to-face is very important to them. I think that's very encouraging. I think what that shows is the status of the vaccine, the comfort level of people here in the United States to begin to get together because of reductions in the spread are encouraging people to participate. So in conclusion from the survey, coverings, very important to CTDA's members. Our members appear to be ready and even some anxious to get together. Distributors will be sending people to coverings in July, though maybe not as many as usual. And to our members, it's important to have appropriate safety protocols in place. And as Jen noted earlier in the presentation, that's very important to coverings as well. Thanks very much. And if you'd like to reach me with any follow-up, you can see my email address here on this slide. And now I'd like to introduce Eric Astrachan, the Executive Director of TCNA, for an update.
Thank you, Rick. To our colleagues in Spain and Italy, it is a pleasure to speak with you in your afternoon. I thought I would cover the sales within the TCNA pavilion already to give you confidence regarding the position of the US manufacturers and Mexican manufacturers, as well as we can look at the strong trends that we're seeing regarding sales of tile from Spain and Italy, We can touch on what has happened with sales from China and the opportunity that presents to you all. And then we can look at new home sales and the total construction market. So let's start with the TCNA Pavilion. You may not be able to read all of the names, but many of our large North American manufacturers, such as Lamosa, Crossville, Landmark, Stone Peak, and others, Florida Tile, have already either signed up, made their payment, carried over their 2020 refund to 2021, or otherwise contracted. If we turn to sales of tile in 2020 versus 2019, the next slide, you can see that in 2019 or 2020 was almost exactly the same as 2019, just down a couple percent, which is remarkable when we think that this was the year of the pandemic. Even more remarkable if we go to the next slide, which shows sales from Spain. Spain is now the largest exporter of ceramic tile by volume, replacing China. And that even with the shutdown of the Spanish factories for a couple months in 2020, there's a 16.1% increase in sales in 2020 versus 2019. If we go to the next slide, which shows this graphically, the green line is 2020. So you can see that 2020 sales in the latter half of the year are significantly greater than 2019, and that trend is continuing here into 2021. From Italy, Italian imports were down less than total consumption, an insignificant 1.6% decrease, but in fact, Italian exports grew from 16.6%, I'm sorry, from 15.9% in 2019 to 16.6%, which is about a 5% increase in terms of the percentage of all imports. We go to the next slide, we can see that graphically. And again, we see the second half of 2020, the green line, imports from Italy are greatly outpacing those from pre-pandemic in 2019. Another good sign for 2021 in terms of imports from Italy. Now let's go to the imports from China. Okay, maybe we're bragging a little bit, but these are down 98.1%. And if we look at the next slide, you can barely see the green line at the bottom of the slide. The steep drop was in 2019, and the green line reflects imports in 2020. I mention this because it's a tremendous opportunity for importers or for exporters exporting to the US, because we haven't had a covering show in 2020. So distributors are looking for tiles that they can purchase to replace what they were previously purchasing from China. This will be the first show where distributors can meet with people in terms of those sales. Okay, let's go to the next slide. In terms of, we'll talk about the construction market in new home starts. In spite of the pandemic, new home starts continued to grow, reaching the highest level since 2006. Let's have a look at that in the next slide. You can see the continuing growth of new housing starts. Next slide, we'll talk about new home sales. And here, the 18.8% increase from 2019. And again, the highest level since 2006 and the 9th straight year of increasing new home sales. Let's look at that graphically. And again, you can see a pretty strong trend. And now we'll talk about total construction market. That's the next slide. And here, the total construction market is increased for the 9th consecutive year to the highest level on record. So despite concerns regarding office space, new teleworking protocols people have put in place, the total construction market is continuing to grow, and that is a very positive sign for the tile industry. So 4.7% increase from the previous year and highest on record. And there you can see that graphically. And finally, the last slide. Next, yep. Just wanted to make the point that even with the shutdown from the 3 countries exporting the most to the US, Spain, Mexico, and Italy, as we've seen, imports continued to grow in the latter half of 2020. We're continuing that trend into 2021. And that when we look at that latter half, consumption was up a robust 10.7%. So we are quite optimistic about the tile industry for 2021, about the economy in general. And I think with everything that we're seeing with the vaccine rollout and the sentiment of the country, we expect attendance will be strong. We recognize the remaining question for all of you is, when will the borders open up? I feel confident that's going to take place well before July. Of course, the question is, will it take place in a time frame where you feel comfortable shipping your freight? And we certainly hope so. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can see my email address. I'll turn this back over to Jen for some additional comments and for the panel to answer questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd like the panel to come back and join us with their audio and video. And I wanted to thank you for joining us now for the question and answer portion of the session. You can submit your questions in English into the question section of the control panel, or raise your hand and verbally give your question. In addition to the panelists today, we do have representatives from Freeman and from Phoenix Logistics, our freight forwarder. So we will get to it with the questions. One question that came in advance, I believe, was, is there insurance for exhibitors for cancellation? And at this time, the insurance industry and our provider, that there's information in the exhibitor service manual where our provider provides liability insurance, but cancellation insurance is not available through them. And it is also, most carriers, or all carriers, are not including the exclusion for pandemic at this time. So there is not, to our knowledge, any insurers that are providing cancellation insurance. Okay. Allie, you want to help give us some?
I just forward some questions, and I do see that Elisa, I'm gonna apologize for my Spanish and Italian pronunciations. Montecroce has a question. So Elisa, if you could unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask your question. Oh, maybe it was a mistake. No questions right now, and I forwarded the written questions as well that we've had so far.
Okay, we did have a few come in, Anna, that we forwarded to you in Spanish. Could you help translate those?
I can see it. Where is chat? A moment. I cannot see the questions yet.
It should be under your questions panel.
Yes, I am opening the panel.
Okay, so in the meantime, I have a couple of questions that have come in English. One is, have any of the events that have been hosted in the US been international or domestic attendees only? I do not have the stats on the individual shows as we did not manage them, but I believe most of those were domestic at this point. We are looking forward in the next week or so to hear about some upcoming shows that precede coverings, such as World of Concrete, Surfaces, and some other shows. And they are looking, they are signing up international exhibitors and attendees at this time. And as far as Eric mentioned, with travel bans from Europe to the United States, indications are that the world situation is improving, and we are hoping that the bans will be lifted in the early spring. Tomorrow evening, on Thursday, our president will be addressing the nation, and so we may have some more indicators on progress and what's going on with travel and in the United States and internationally.
Jen, I can answer to the questions. One, I think, is for Inigo. Inigo is the representative of ISEX, who is organizing the Pavilion of Spain. And a Spanish company is asking if there is a area established for each exhibitor in the Spanish pavilion. If you want to answer, if not, I can do it.
Okay, you can answer.
You can answer. Puedes contestar, Juana, si quieres.
Okay, we have this year, because of the change of the trade show and 30% less space, but we have to release the space that we do not have until the 15th of March, because sales in the show from other countries are going on, and they're waiting to have the main hall. Now there is not more space in the main hall. We have booked out from TCNA, the US manufacturers, the Italian pavilion, and the Spanish pavilion. So ISEX have invited you to book out the space, and when you do it, they will assign you the space depending on what you ask for. I think that now we have enough space for all of you. It is true that we are going to have less exhibitors, and companies are going to have smaller booths because of the situation, and also because we have less time to set up them. But if you don't respect the dates that ISEX has invited you to book out, you may not have the space that you want, because we have to give back to the show, because they are going to sell to other exhibitors who are waiting for. And the other question, if there is a date a ver, que no ha sido adelante. ¿Cuál es la fecha límite para decidir? Jen, I think this question you have to answer it. Which is the deadline to decide if the show is going to go forward or not, if it's going to cancel or not?
We're continuing to monitor and have not set a go, no-go date at this time. We will hope to get you other updates in the coming weeks and months. Definitely in early April, we'll have another update for you.
And also I have another question about which is the deadline to send the booth. For the Spanish pavilion, ISEX is organizing the shipment. They have not opened the date, but as you may know, we have problems with shipments now. We have to planify very well to not have problems. And we have so it was until the beginning of May. But it is true that ICES has not yet established the dates. And another question from a Spanish company. Yes, ¿le están? Sí o no. Okay. Buenas tardes, ¿no? Entonces, do we have to pay the 15th of March to pay to book up the space? If you want to keep the space, yes, because as I explained before, the organization is waiting to us until we know if we want to keep all the space they have assigned to us or not. So it is important. We know it is difficult now because of the time of the year. It is important.
Of course, I have to confirm.
Yes.
I have to confirm what you are saying. That of course they have to pay for the inscription. But I think all of the members of ASTER know that if there is any problem or there is a cancellation, any other problem, ethics will refund in any case, as we did last year. But of course, for being part of the of our pavilion, they have to pay.
Okay. I believe, thank you. I believe the first question had to do with shipments and timing, and I'm going to turn that over to our expert, Phil Hobson, just to give an idea of the timeline for shipments and how that is going, and if there's been any impact on the timing of shipments based on COVID and other world situations. Phil?
Okay, thank you, Jen. The big issue right now is port congestion. I think we're all aware of that. I had a conversation with the Port of Savannah this morning, which is the primary port for this show, and they are seeing some backlog. They do not anticipate that to go on much longer. So I feel that the blank sailings and the backlogs will be all cleared up by June. Depending on where you're coming from, if it's Europe, it's going to be, I would say you need to make a decision and book probably by early May, just to make sure space is available. And that is an issue. You want to get the space as it becomes available because there are limited vessels. But other than that, customs is fully functioning. I don't expect any issues there. I think it's an all go. I'm seeing a lot of other shows with international exhibitors starting to pick up. So I would say by the time you need to ship, everything should be running relatively smoothly.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have another question. Oh.
Okay. Oh, no, I have several questions also from the side of the Spanish.
Okay. I'll answer one and then I'll turn it over to you and you can walk through those few questions.
Okay.
We had a question about for the stand builders who are working in the exhibit hall, will they be able to work overnight during the move-in? And we will have the same systems in place for late work passes. And so it won't be different than what you're used to when setting up in Orlando. Okay, Anna, if you have a couple of questions to work through.
Yes, another person is asking if they have to control the number, the people who is visiting the booth. I think that this question can be responded by you, Jen.
Okay. The guideline in the United States right now is for social distancing to try to keep 6 feet distance. And at this time, that is what it is. And again, as we get closer to the show, that is changing in this. They're talking about changing that in the school system protocols. So we are going to be updating our safety measures closer to the show. But at this time, we would recommend that you set up your booth in a way that it has an open format and that you monitor the number of people coming in. But as far as restrictions, there's no specific restrictions to people coming into your booth and out of your booth. Also, the density of the exhibit, the size of the exhibit hall will allow for proper density across the whole show attendance, even if it was to higher numbers than usually expected. So I feel, and then we'll also have the National Wood Flooring Association show to spread out into that space and the main parts of the building. But there's no rule besides the guidelines.
I have another question. If we are expecting quarantine measures if we are not vaccinated in the US.
Okay. Right now, areas are opening up, restaurants and malls and stores across the United States. And again, we'll put those safety measures in place, which could involve social distancing and masking. At this time, the shows that have taken place in the country have not all had requirements around vaccinations or testing. Again, we're waiting over the next few weeks and months to develop those guidelines and rules and restrictions, and we'll send messages out as they come in.
Let me add.
And if,
yes.
Eric,
Sorry.
did you want to add something to that?
If I may, thank you. I'm certain that the airlines will require a negative COVID test if people are not vaccinated, but that I expect will be the only requirement. They do not have an imposed quarantine when you come into the state of Florida, and I certainly don't expect that they would have anything like that in July. Additionally, regarding social distancing and masks, I think that exhibitors should plan on what they are comfortable with, because by July, the rate of infection per 100,000 in the population will be significantly lower in the US. So you are not being exposed through coming to the US, but we appreciate that you'll want to take measures to protect yourselves, and to do so, construct your booth as you would want it to be constructed, so that you can protect yourself if you're not vaccinated, and people will respect that. But in terms of the population, it should be significantly lower per 100,000 than perhaps even within your own country. So we think that you'd be coming to a safe environment, and people will be respectful of whatever steps you want to take in terms of your own personal protection, with people wearing masks and social distancing and so on. But in terms of quarantine, I think that that will not be a restriction with evidence of a negative PCR test.
If I may, I think this question is, they want to know if the ban that the US has with the Schengen area is going to be on that time, or maybe if they have to have a quarantine, which is going to be more complex for the European to fly to get to Florida. So I think this is the key. I think in Florida, they are prepared to organize the show because, as Jen has explained to us, they have already organized 15 shows. But the question for Europeans is if they are going to be able to fly in July with any restrictions to Orlando. And the thing is, we have to take the decision very soon, because we have the problem of the shipment. In my opinion, we cannot predict anything. It is very difficult to know. The uncertainty is very high, and what we can do is to follow step by step the situation and inform you of what is going to happen. Inigo, do you want to add anything?
We are, I think, is what you mentioned. But today we cannot reassure anything. Of course, we will try to, as I mentioned yesterday, we will support our companies. We will follow the situation, and but we understand that there is a problem for the shipments, and of course, all of us, we hope and we believe that the situation is going to improve over the next few weeks, so we can have let's say in mid-April or end of April, clear picture at that moment, and we will take the decision at that time. Right now, I think, as all of us, we hope that the situation is going to improve. In Spain, it's going better. I think in Italy is the same, and of course in the States. But we know that in September we were in a similar situation. The cases were improving, the situation were improving, and then next in Christmas, the situation went worse, and so
Right.
inshallah, the situation will be better.
Good.
With regard, yes.
I'm not sure what we are going to do. Of course.
No, with regard to this question, I have another question from another Spanish member, and they ask if we have thought about companies, European companies, having an official document in order to travel to the US without any problems in the customs.
Phil, can you take that question, Phil? About customs?
Well, I think she's referring to immigration. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Phil.
Yeah, I can't really answer that for immigration, but I can tell you based on my experience and stories I hear from exhibitors, I don't think that Coverings is going to be in a position to issue any kind of letter that's going to expedite you through or anybody through immigration. But I don't expect that they're going to have any problems with immigration. So I don't know how to answer that question other than to think that I don't think it's an issue at this point, or will be.
You're right, and we're in contact with the Global Transportation Travel Association and the U.S. Travel Association, looking for any evolving guidelines and suggestions that they make in reaching out to various government agencies here and abroad. So we're investigating that as it's developing right now. So we're staying on top of that, and also noting what other trade show industry guidelines are being suggested through the associations we belong to. Okay.
Jen,
If I may, the important issue is.
please.
Stan, hold on. Eric, you go, and then I'll let Luciano go.
This is quick. The important issue is once the border opens up to the European countries, then there would be no problem with people entering the country from European countries. We already have open borders with India and many other countries where people are coming back and forth without any restriction. understanding they have to show proof of the negative PCR test to get on the plane. But once the border opens up, then there would not be any challenges coming across customs. Please go ahead, Luciano.
Thank you, Eric. I will say a few words regarding the Italian exhibitors and the Italian pavilion. Italy, of course, is organized, let's say, in a different way with respect to Spain. The Spanish pavilion is organized through ECHEX. The Italian pavilion, let's say, is organized by our association, but the companies, let's say, regarding the contract, invoices, etc., they deal directly with the show organizer, with TAF events. Now, we have laid out, let's say, the floor plan of the Italian pavilion, and the companies and the space application, the space selection process is ongoing. The companies have received a proposal for their booth, and they are now, let's say, considering the space that has been proposed, and we expect to receive a feedback from the companies that have applied for the space by the end of this week. Our goal is to be able, let's say, to finalize our pavilion by March 22nd with a confirmation from the companies. After that, we will send the floor plan of our pavilion to TAFI, which will send out the contracts and the invoices. And at that time, clearly, the companies will have to commit. So this is the process that we have, let's say, envisaged, and this will allow the exhibitors, let's say, to get organized with their booth and for the shipments, which will likely, let's say, take place around mid-May, or even earlier, because of the problems, let's say, with the shipments, the lack of ships, etc. So they will have probably to anticipate, let's say, this process and the shipments also, to make sure that all the materials for the construction of the booth will arrive in time in Orlando. But maybe on these dates, Phil can be more precise, say, than me, as he has more, let's say, knowledge and more information regarding the situation of the shipments. So we are, of course, available, our offices, let's say, to respond to the queries, to the questions, the problems that the exhibitors may have. And as you said, of course, we will provide frequent, let's say, updates on the situation as it evolves.
Okay, thank you, Luciano. Phil, did you want to add anything about the deadlines of the shipments?
I'm not as concerned about the deadlines as I am about vessel space, which Luciano referred to, and that is an issue right now. The equipment worldwide is limited, so you just need to start thinking about it as far in advance as possible. The volume is going to be down for containers this year, I do believe. So that actually is going to help us a little bit. It's less of a challenge. But the best thing I could tell you is start early and book early. Even if the containers arrive a little earlier, that's better than not arriving in time.
Okay. And then Anna, do you have another question?
Yes, I have two more questions, but it's
Okay.
they are related to the Spanish pavilion. Inigo, they are for you. I translate them. One is if ISEX is going to continue organizing the pavilion depending on the number of companies you are going to go forward. And the other question is about you are going to take into account the way of exhibiting this year, selecting the space next year, because depending on the type of decoration and the space, or if you exhibit or no, you are going to take these two questions issues for next year's selection booths.
Okay. Inigo, I'm going to answer about choosing space for 2022, and then I'll turn it over to you if you want to talk just a little bit about the process for the Spanish exhibitors being contacted and selecting their space. Taffy Events will be reaching out in May and early June for space selection for the Coverings 2022 show, which will take place in Las Vegas, as mentioned. So we are going to be doing that in the same manner that we did the assignments for 2021 for the main hall and the machinery areas. And then we will be working with ISEX and ESER and the Italian pavilion to lay out their spaces, and the process will be similar and the timing will be similar to a April show timeframe of when you would be reached and contacted to select your space and in those pavilions for 2022. Inigo, did you want to talk about the current process for 2021? I believe you're in the process of reaching out.
Of course, our idea is to organize the Spanish pavilion. I don't know if at the end of the day there are only 5 companies interested in going to coverings. I don't think so. That will be the situation. But in that case, I don't know if there will be any sense to organize from ISEX the pavilion. But right now, of course, our idea is to organize the Spanish pavilion 100%. Regarding 2022, well, let's organize 2021 and then we will see for next year. I think it's a little bit earlier to take some decisions regarding 2022, but we try to be to do things properly. So I don't think any problem for. I'm not thinking in 2022 and the problems we will have that next year.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Which are the digital opportunities and tools for manufacturers during Coverings 2021? Through the exhibitor service manual and the Coverings website, we will have an exhibitor invitation program again, so you can send invitations out to your people that you would like to invite. We also have the exhibitor directory listings through the floor plan and your exhibit directory listing, and there are opportunities to upgrade that with video and other enhancements. And then we are looking to offer a virtual experience in conjunction with the show, and more information about that will be coming out shortly. Okay, Anna, did you have another question?
No.
Okay. The question is, will the space for the stands be limited? And if so, what is the maximum space we can rent? We have no restraints or constrictions on the amount of space that you select. It just like in any other year. However, we do have a 16-foot height limit, and there is a shorter move in and move out time. So you need to plan the construction of your booth accordingly. I think we talked about that. And then again, some general questions about if we're planning to go forward with the show. And as indicated throughout this meeting, we do feel like things are improving and we are moving forward with the planning of the show. I'm looking forward to the Thursday night update from the President of the United States, and as we go forward, other trade shows that are organizing in front of us. So right now we're moving forward and planning. We will have other updates coming soon in the next few weeks into April. So we'll gather again for that.
I'd just like to say we look forward to seeing you in Orlando in July.
Yeah, I'm just making sure there's not a different question. There's a question for Mr. Astrachan. Do you have any data regarding sales from Mexico to the United States?
We do. We have quite a bit, and I'll certainly be happy to send that to whomever is interested, or to send that to our colleagues at Confindustria and Acer for them to distribute. I just don't have it at the top of my head.
Okay. And the last question that has come forward on the question and answer panel is, what happens to the fees if the show is not able to take place? And as mentioned, there's information in the exhibitor contract that provides a provision to carry forward your fees to the 2022 show in Las Vegas, or you can, if you choose not to attend the 2022 show, you could apply them to the 2023 show, which will again be in Orlando. Okay. And one last question just slipped in, and it is, the slide presentation will be available on the Coverings website in the Exhibitor tab of the coverings.com website.
We can send
do you have
them
another question, Anna?
to our members, Jen, directly.
What?
We can also send the presentation directly to our members.
Okay, I'll provide that to both association contacts so that those can be sent out directly as well, and we'll post that on the website. The other thing is, if you come up with other questions, we're available through the Coverings website as mentioned, and you can reach out to Taffy Events, or you can go directly to your association contact. Okay.
Jen, I wanted to.
Anybody on the panel have any closing remarks?
Jen, I wanted to quickly just say that, again, if anyone needed help with some labor for their booths, that our workers have been deemed essential for many, many months and are used to working under safety protocol. They've been doing that in commercial and residential installations, and they could work with crews very, very well. And also just what Rick said, if you can come, we're going to do everything possible to get as many people there as we can. So thank you.
Okay.
Jen, I can answer that question regarding Mexico now too. It's quick, which is that overall 2020 tile imports from Mexico were down 6.9% versus 2019. But that's significantly because the tile factories in Mexico were closed for several months. And that's what impacted sales from Mexico. In the latter part of 2020, just as we saw for Italy and Spain, imports from Mexico have outpaced the imports from Mexico for 2019 and 2018. So it is back on an increasing trend versus the prior years. And additionally, imports from Mexico are now the second largest by volume. So Spain #1, Mexico #2, and Italy #3 in terms of volume. In terms of value, I believe it is Italy #1 and Mexico #2. I'm sorry, Spain #2 and Mexico #3. So that's the picture from Mexico.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on the panel like to make a remark? Okay, well, thank you again, everybody, for your time. I hope this was helpful, and we will be working on additional updates as things develop over the next few weeks, and we'll let you know when we will have another session for you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we certainly look forward to our colleagues in Spain and Italy exhibiting, and hope and pray that you can.
No, for my members, we are at your disposal. You can phone us as much as you want. If you have any questions, and we will try to talk to you about the situation. We are having things every week since several months ago, showing the situation. So no problem to attend you when you need it.
Great, thank you.
Jen, if I may, also on my side, first of all, I would like to thank all the American colleagues for their contribution. I believe it was very important to give the picture of the positive attitude of our clients in North America towards coverings, and the positive situation of the US economy, which is of course very important. We have the outstanding issue of the travel ban. Of course, this is what we're going to continue to monitor in the next weeks. But I think it was very important also to give the deadlines that we are looking at both in Spain and in Italy that Luciano did for us, and of course here Confindustria Ceramica with Cristina, Carolina, Luciano. We are at disposal of our members. We'll have an opportunity to meet with our committee chaired by Emilio next Monday, so to go through the situation. But please do answer to the questions that Cristina sent to our members today with the floor plan. Thank you, Jen, for organizing. I think it was extremely useful. Thank you so much for all your efforts, and to Gary and all the other colleagues with Freeman and so on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Armando, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your input to the panelists, and thank you for your participation to those of you who have attended this session. And we look forward to providing updates as things progress, and we are looking forward to them progressing and getting back to our new normal in the world. Thank you very much.